Hello everybody and welcome to Lime Rock Park, Connecticut. Great to have your company. John Hindhoff and Jeremy Shaw in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre as we are counting down to the green flag for qualifying for the FCP Euro Northeast Grand Prix. Now, we are in a unique situation here, Mr. Shaw, because we will be having a single qualifying session for this particular race because we're all GT cars and all GT3 cars at that, 15 of them on the pit lane. We'll go to share Adam in a moment for the drivers. Just to remind you, we are just outside Lakeville, Connecticut for this classic race circuit, just around 1.5 miles, 1.5 miles. 7 corners. Big bend, turn 1, get down the inside there and try and force your way through. The uphill at turn 5, we actually used the chicane for the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. We used the outer loop for Michelin Pilot Challenge. So 2 different iterations of the same circuit being used this weekend. This is a track where you get value for money in terms of your laps turned. All very impressive. And for those of you who race online, I'm sure many of you have done many hundreds, possibly even thousands of laps in Skippy cars or Mazda MX-5s here on iRacing and the console games as well. Well, right now, we're about to have 15 minutes that will settle the lineup for tomorrow afternoon's race. 2 races tomorrow, of course, in this condensed schedule, with Michelin Pilot Challenge coming first, and then the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Shea Adam is down in the pit lane, and before we start the 15-minute countdown clock to the checkered flag for qualifying, she can tell us who is qualifying in the cars on pit lane, because she's looking at the drivers. Where are you, Shea?
I'm in the penalty box, which is where every driver wants to end up at the end of this session, because it's where the pole award is given out to both the GTD Pro and GTD pole sitters. But let's find out who the attempted pole sitters are going to be. Jordan Taylor has been given qualifying duties for the number 3 Corvette. Remember, he was very fast in their mock quali at the end of full practice too, but he's going to have to try and fend off Australian ace Matty Campbell, who will be doing the qualifying duties for the number 9 Pfaff Porsche, and he was the fastest at the end of the last session. For the number 14 Vassar Sullivan Lexus, that will be Jack Hawksworth making his return to the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship after a couple of months in recovery for an injury sustained back in June, I think it was, might have been the end of May. We've got Ross Gunn driving the 23 Heart of Racing Aston Martin, as he told us he would be earlier, and the other driver who let us in on the secret was Connor De Filippi, driver of the number 25 BMW M Team RLL. That's it for GTD Pro. GTD Normal, let's go back to the front, why not? Hometown hero Robbie Foley is going to be qualifying for Turner Motorsports in their number 96 Taco machine. We've got Cooper McNeil in the 79 Mercedes, yes, running in GTD now, trying to help Mercedes with their championship aspirations for manufacturers. Russell Ward is in another Mercedes, that's number 57 Windward Racing car. And we've got Aiden Reed in the Acura, the sole Acura in this field, for the NSX being run by Rick Ware Racing. Robert McGinnis, another guy who's from not too far away from here, is going to be doing qualifying for Carbon in their new Lamborghini. Their old one was destroyed at Watkins Glen. Crew working very hard to build up a new one, courtesy of TR3 that they found for rent. We've got Stephen McAleer in the Mercedes for Team Cawthorpe. The last time his co-driver in GS put a car on pole, Stephen backed it up with his own pole position in GTD. Let's see if he can do it again. Pole sitter last year here was Roman DeAngelis, and once again he is qualifying the number 27 Heart of Racing Aston Martin. Let's see if he can do 2 in a row. We haven't had a repeat manufacturer on pole position here at Lime Rock Park. It's been at least 5 years since we've had the same manufacturer on pole. We've got Ryan Hardwick in the number 16 Wright Motorsport Porsche. Frankie Montecalvo, the pole sitter the last time out at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, will be doing the duties for the number 12 Vassar Sullivan Lexus team. And finally, pole sitter here back in 2017 on his 75th race weekend for the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, Madison Snow attempting to qualify for Paul Miller Racing in their BMW. Green flag is out.
10 seconds. elapsed in terms of the time available. Now remember, this is a circuit that works the Michelin tyres very hard indeed. Earlier on in the Pilot Challenge, we saw some cars completing as few as 3, 4, 5 laps to get their times. Let's see what happens in this session. Intrigued to know what the challenge has been, the challenge that's been set to the drivers by the teams. They'll have talked about this beforehand in the break between free practice 2 and now, and the driver that was selected to do the qualifying will have been told, right, this is what we're going to do. Here's your tyre pressures to start with. We want you to do 1 or maybe 2 warm-up laps, and then go for your lap, do a couple and then come in. You cannot touch the cars once you've rolled out of your pit box. So it's all down to the driver. What was it that somebody said earlier on? He didn't call himself the nut behind the wheel, but the spacer, which I thought is a fantastic way of describing the driver. I've nicked that. I've stolen that now. Jeremy Shaw at the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. We normally think of these guys taking a wee bit of time in warming up their Michelin tyres, getting the pressures up as well. This track is so short, it's so harsh on the tyres. We might see something a little different today.
Yeah, and it's picking a pole position in either of these classes is always pretty difficult. In the 6 races we've had in the GTD Pro category, the FAF Porsche has been on pole twice, but the other 4 races were all different. The Corvette's been on pole once, the BMW's been on pole once, the recent competition Ferrari was on pole once, and then the first round of the year, where the grid, of course, was set by the qualifying race at Daytona, the Lamborghini was on pole. So it's been spread around really widely, the pole position so far this season. So this is going to be a really interesting session. As we saw just a little bit earlier on this afternoon, how close the times were in practice as well, and fast.
We saw a very low 51 in FP2, and that is a 51-second lap. Are we going to see somebody break the 51-second barrier? And in terms of qualifying records, surely the qualifying record's got to go today, Jeremy.
I think so, yes. I mean, the qualifying record was a 51.456 by Trent Hinman in an Acura back in 2019, but the fastest time in the most recent session was a 51.050, so 4 tenths quicker than that. That was Matty Campbell in kind of a 9, the Porsche. And
the track temperature has dropped significantly. It was over 50 Celsius, right into the mid 120s, 124, 125 Fahrenheit. It's now 117 Fahrenheit, 47 Celsius. Doesn't sound like a lot of difference. The air temperature hovering around about the same, around about 28 Celsius, 82 Fahrenheit. A couple of degrees, if that, down. We also saw some cars experimenting with setup, particularly at the front of the cars. Just seen a shower of sparks from the Stephen McAleer Courtoff Motorsport Mercedes as he came through the final corner, and he goes to the top of GTD with a 51.8, 51.7 for Jordan Taylor in the Corvette. There are going to be qualifying setups here, Jeremy. This is such a short lap. It is worth the pain of making those changes in the pit lane, and then potentially having to change them back after warm up tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, these days, as competitive as it is, all the teams do put a pretty high emphasis on qualifying as well, not just race setup. So, but particularly here, yeah, because it is such a short lap and things can go wrong very, very quickly. Track position certainly is very, very important here. So the farther you start up front, the better off you're going to be on during the race. Here comes Jordan Taylor across the line. It's probably the first representative time, 51.302. So that is already a sub record. So a new qualifying record here for, well, that was GTD Pro, of course. So that's a new class. So that'll be a new record in of itself in any case. Steve McAleer, 51.7. Madison Snow, beats that by a 4,000th of a second, 51.792. Now Robbie Foley, 51.490. That is about 300ths away from the lap record for Robbie Foley in a Taylor Motorsport BMW.
And we've still got 9.5 minutes to go, so it looks like we're getting a few laps put on to the Michelin tyres as the teams and drivers are looking for a wee bit of a gap. We have got all 15 cars out. There will be...
No, we don't.
No, we haven't actually. Yes,
no.
You're right.
We've had only one, well, up until just now, because Ross Gunn's just turned up in a Harder Racing Aston number 23. We had only one of the GTD Pro cars out, and that was the Corvette. Is the Corvette that is fastest at the moment with a 51.302.
Matt Campbell has just fired up the engine of the FAF Motorsport Porsche, which has not done a lap as yet. The important thing to notice here, if you're joining us on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV, free, if you're listening on IMSA Radio, it's very seldom I say tune away from IMSA Radio. Of course, we want you to listen. But if you can, and if it's safe, i.e. if you're not driving, you can go to the live video tab on IMSARadio.com, whether you're in the States or further afield. There's no blocks on our coverage, our video coverage of this session. And this is one class. My point is that this is all one class. So if Robbie Foley was to find 0.18 of a second and go to pole position, he'd be on pole for the start of the FCP Euro Northeast Grand Prix tomorrow. And wherever the GTD pros end up is where they will be. So they will not be cycled to the front of the field. After any full course yellows, they will not be cycled to the front of the field. And when the pits open, after a full course yellow, it will be for all 15 cars. So for all intents and purposes, until we get to standing on the podium, it's one class. And I am absolutely revved up about this, because I think we're going to see an intriguing race tomorrow afternoon. Ross Gunn goes to the top for Aston Martin Vantage, and Heart of Racing team, the British manufacturer, goes to the top then, 23 with a 51.281, starting to get down towards those times we saw earlier, a couple of tenths away from the fastest time that we saw in FP2.
And that's a big jump for the number 23 team, because their best lap in the 2 practice sessions we've had so far was a 51.8. So he's found more than half a second in that number 23 car. So that's a really good lap from Ross Gunn, the Englishman.
And Shea Adams says the pits are empty as Conor De Filippi drove by her in the BMW Team R. So they've waited until, well, halfway through this 15-minute session. Now the question is, were they expecting people to park the cars and therefore have a slightly less restricted run at the end of the session? It may yet happen, but at the moment we've got all 15 cars out on the circuit. I'm looking at the tracker at the moment, and what we can see from the fabulous pictures that our colleagues at NASCAR Productions, and thanks to all our camera operators here at the track and everyone in production up at NPHQ in North Carolina, in Charlotte. But it looks like they're fairly well spread out at the moment. New fastest lap in GT Daytona, and it's a double for Heart of Racing. We've seen this from this team before. They've got momentum at the moment, and Roman De Angelis goes to the top, and he's just pipped by Robert McGuinness. Top 3 in GTD pose, then the GTD field, then Hawksmith and Conor De Filippi, who came out much later than everyone else, still getting up the field. 5.5 to go, Jeremy.
Yeah, we're seeing cars coming into the pits now, John, as you said, at Russell Ward, Stephen Mackley and Madison Snow, currently 4th, 5th and 6th in GTD. They're onto the pit lane, so their session, they reckon that's as fast as they can go. But McGuinness to the top, what a lap there, 51.465 by the New Yorker. So that's a really good lap for him. His best in the practice sessions was a 51.7. So again, they found a good amount of time. But he's still fractionally outside the old GTD lap record, but he's just he did improve again, didn't he, last time around? So 0.012 back to DeAngelis, 0.013 back to Robbie Foley, and then 0.027 back to Russell Ward. The top 5 cars in GTD covered by just over 1/10 of a second.
Matt Campbell to the top for Pfaff Motorsport, a 51.0, 51.079 is the blink of an eye of having the first ever 50-point-something second lap for a GT3 car here at Lime Rock Park. Here he comes down through the final right-hander, all the way to the edge of the circuit. Stephen McAlee has gone back out for Team Courthoff Motorsport. No improvement there. That was a slower lap and a bit of traffic for Matt Campbell, a 55.6. But he's got a bit of space now. Ahead of him is the 32 of Stephen McAlee, so he'll have to keep his eyes on the mirror, because that's an out lap for Stephen as they're heading down towards the uphill with still 3 minutes, call it nearly 4 minutes left, 3:50 on the clock. This is quality stuff at the sharp end of the field. Vassar Sullivan, Jack Hawksworth, second position at 51.097, Jeremy.
Yeah, his first real flyer in that number 14 car, as you say, second fastest, just 0.018 away from his best time. Colin De Filippi, his first flying lap, he's only 5th, but 51.403 for Connor on his. He's only completed 3 laps in total so far. That was his first proper flyer there in car number 25. That's the BMW MT-RLL entry. So I'm sure there's more to come from Connor De Filippi.
No improvement for Matt Campbell, 52.5 last time around. So he's looking for space now as he lets the Jack Hawksworth RCF go through. Frank Montecalvo goes to the top of GTD, top 5 of GTD pros now, as you might expect from the slightly more experienced pro drivers. Top 5 separated by a quarter of a second, by the way, from Campbell, Pfaff Motorsport Porsche, Vassar Sullivan Lexus, Heart of Racing Aston Martin in the pits, Corvette Racing in the pits, BMW Team RLL M4 GT3 still running, and it's Montecalvo now by 0.006 of a second from the Lamborghini of Carbon Autosport. This is a brand new car to them. They've rented that car for the weekend to get them back in the championship. Roman De Angelis, who was on pole a moment or 2 away, is fully 0.012 of a second away from provisional pole position. As Matt Campbell, he hasn't been able to break the 51-second time barrier, and he's into the pit lane. But can Jack Hawksworth do it? He's still out there. Needs to find a 1/10 of a second in that number 14 car. He's on the uphill right now. V8 screaming away, 90 seconds still to go. Comes to the west end of the circuit, all the way out to the edge of the track, down under the Haggerty Bridge, and into finals. The final right-hander.
He was purple in sector 1.
He really was, yeah.
Yeah, not improving in sector 2 nor in sector 3, so slightly slower there.
De Filippi to third, though. De Filippi up to third. Top 3 separated by a 1/10.5, Jeremy.
Yeah, and McGuinness is still out there in the Lamborghini, but Montecalvo, as you say, has the provisional pole at the moment. He's 4 thousandths of a second, I should say, outside. No, 3 thousandths, I was right first time, from Trent Hinman's lap record from 2019 is Montecalvo, but a good bit quicker than the pole time from last year, which was a 51.7.
51.0 and 51.4, the 2 provisional pole times at the moment. To the line, Stephen McAlee. Well, they're running their tyres. They're doing 12, 13, 14 laps, 15 laps for McGuinness.
And that was McAlee's best lap on that last lap, 51.516, better than Russell Ward by 1,000th. We've now got the top 6 cars in regular GTD covered by less than half of a 1/10 of a second.
Half a 1/10 of a second, not half a second, is what Jeremy Shaw said there.
Yeah.
That's 0.05 of a second. Okay, let's again. I say this quite often. Get your smartphone out, put it on the stopwatch, and try and start and stop that with and have something under 0.05 of a second. You'll do well if you can do that. And that's the top cars in GTD, the top 5 in GTD. McAleer sees the checkered flag. He does not improve, well, barely. So he's going to be no better than 5th. Peeling into the pits is Jack Hawksworth. So he's settling for 2nd in the outside pole. So I think it looks very much as though it's the Porsche and Pfaff Motorsports and Matt Campbell, the affable Antipodean, and his first pole position in IMSA WeatherTech competition. Aidan Reid to the line, and he is 8th position for Rick Ware Racing, another man from that part of the world. So I'm just checking to see if there's anyone still out on the track who hasn't seen the checkered flag. There is not. Well, Jeremy, this bodes very well indeed for, I know this is a 1-lap shootout, but that really wasn't a 1-lap shootout. That was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 lap shootout. And pretty much, unless they were on a cool-down lap for their Michelin tyres, there's nothing between any one of these cars at the moment.
It is pretty tight, isn't it? And that was a great lap for Matty Campbell. He's had a fastest race lap before, but as Shay says, not a pole position for Matty Campbell. This is his 19th start, 8 wins to his name, and of course the championship leaders coming into this weekend. So another great result for this Pfaff Motorsports Porsche team.
So the 2 pole sitters will head down to...
Yeah, excuse me, I was just going to say that Jaminet has driven this car to 2 poles this year, but the first one this is for Campbell, so they're sharing around their 3rd pole for this team.
The plaid Porsche.
No one else got more than 1.
No, indeed. The plaid Porsche, the Haggerty driveway, Pfaff Porsche pulls up. Behind it is Frank Montecalvo. We'll let the drivers disrobe. They weren't allowed to get out of their cars. That would have disqualified all of their times. The teams weren't allowed to touch the cars. So Matt Campbell composes himself, pulls out his radio ear pieces, and Shea Adam is down there.
And the first thing he does is run over to the wall to celebrate with Matthew Jaminet, who's already got a couple of pole positions for Pfaff. But for you, Matty, this is your first pole position in IMSA. You've tried pretty hard in the past, but how good does it feel?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, first pole for me in the IMSA Championship after a couple of years, so really happy with that. And you know, the car's working fantastic, and really important pole for us. I mean, starting up front here, really critical. It's incredibly hard to pass and degradation high. So hopefully we can start out front and manage pace. But you know, thrilled for everyone at Pfaff Motorsports, and really cool for tomorrow.
How important are the points as well? Because coming in as a championship leader, it's 35 points advantage still going your way.
Yeah, absolutely critical. I mean, we're thinking about a big picture here. Obviously, tomorrow is where everything really happens. But obviously, we're starting off on the right foot today, starting off the front row, and that's where we want to be. So hopefully we can do a good job tomorrow. You know, the Pfaff guys have done a fantastic job all year executing on a strategy. So have full faith in them tomorrow, and hopefully we can be up there and grab some more points.
Well, I think Pfaff has a problem on their hands now, Matty. They got to decide which one of you gets to qualify, because both of you are capable of poles. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you so much. Cheers.
Yeah, very good point. And he is going to be a difficult person to dislodge. Has to start the race tomorrow, of course. We'll start from pole position on Michelin Pilot tyres that are 7 laps old. Jack Hawksworth 9, 6 for Conor De Filippi, 7 for Ross Gunn, and 13 for Jordan Taylor, who'll start on the 5th position. And Frankie Montecalvo will start on 9-lap-old tyres for Vassar Sullivan at the head of GTD, and in 6th position overall in that in the race tomorrow.
Frankie, you nailed it. Looks like a repeat of Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, at least in qualifying. Definitely hoping not in the race, hopefully for very different results. But your tires barely got any use during that qualifying. They're going to be excellent for the race, aren't they?
Yeah, I hope so. We waited a long time to go out there and just try to get some clear track, and the team did a phenomenal job getting us a nice gap out there, but it wasn't easy. I mean, that's everything we had. It was the last lap that came down to it. I think we needed a 10th at the end, and if you look at how close qualifying is, that little bit is what we needed. So it was very impressive, and it was important to me, you know, to try to come back here after that, you know, unfortunate event at Mosport, to come back and start at the front and have a repeat.
This is your 4th pole position. Do you think this place is the most critical place to have a pole?
I think it's really important, just like, these cars are so close, so passing is super difficult out there, so starting at the front generally helps that.
Congrats on today. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
So, Jeremy, we have Porsche and Lexus on the 2 class poles, but we're going to be talking about the whole 15 as a group when we come back tomorrow. 178 laps is the lap distance, the record lap distance. Those kind of pace, the kind of pace we've seen already this week, that could be under threat tomorrow.
Could well be. We've certainly seen some good lap times. Matthew Jaminet generally qualifies number 9 car. This was just the second time qualifying the car this year for Matty Campbell. He did a brilliant job there to put on the pole position. And for Frankie Montecalvo, wow, he is just on a roll right now. As Shay said there, 2 poles in a row now. Unfortunately, he's got taken out in an incident really nothing to do with him on the first lap at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. But this tomorrow should be a different story with only the GTD cars out there on the racetrack. So hopefully there's nobody else to get involved with, and hopefully you can have a good run. But really, Frankie Montecalvo is really driving quite beautifully at the moment.
Well, we did get all 5 of the GTD pros at the front of the field. Porsche, Lexus, BMW, Aston Martin and Chevrolet Corvette, and then it's Lexus, Lamborghini, Aston, BMW, 2 Mercedes, a BMW, the Acura, then the Mercedes and the Porsche. That's how they'll start for the FCP Euro Northeast Grand Prix. We'll have it all live for you in sound and vision via IMSA Radio and IMSA.tv. Thanks for being with us. Jeremy Shaw was with me, John Hindhaugh, in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. It's pole position for Matt Campbell. Bye-bye.